perfect is a lie. There is absolutely no such thing because we are beautifully flawed as humans. And I feel like the most powerful content and the most clarity and the most momentum actually comes out of doing things and kind of sucking at the beginning, kind of face planting, maybe even failing, maybe even doing a really shitty job. But you need to be able to get that out of you in order to build something great.
What if today was the day that you dared yourself to do what you've always wanted? Welcome to the I Dare You podcast. I'm your host, Jen Gottlieb, and together we're going to step outside of our comfort zones and into our best lives, one dare at a time. So come on, I dare you to dive right on in.
Hello, family. Welcome to the very first episode of the I Dare You podcast, where we are stepping outside of our comfort zones to live our best lives. I'm so excited. Y'all, I am sitting on the floor inside my closet on top of a pile of my fiance's laundry, dead serious, recording this podcast on my iPhone with this little tiny mic that my chief of staff, Liz, got for me yesterday because I woke up and I said, I am hesitating the creation of this podcast because I'm too worried about it being perfect. And that is not how we do things here. We say better done than perfect. This content needs to get out there. So while I thought that I needed to wait until I had a studio and some big fancy headphones and a really cool looking microphone and awesome guests, I was like, screw it. There's too many barriers to entry here. I'm being too much of a perfectionist and I am letting fear get in the way of me creating this podcast. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go into my closet right now, and I'm going to record the first episode. So we are sitting here together recording the first episode of the I Dare You podcast. And you know what? This may turn into a really dope podcast with lots of video. I have no doubt it will, and amazing guests. But I was hesitating getting started because I thought that I needed to get to chapter 20 before I took my first step and do my chapter 1. And so I was like, I need to just do chapter 1 in order to start to gain momentum. So I'm sitting here and I'm doing this messy. I'm doing it imperfectly. And that's what this very first episode is all about. And that's what this whole podcast is all about, really. It's daring yourself to do things imperfectly, daring yourself to get a little outside of your comfort zone, daring yourself to be seen as exactly who you are. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, what I found that whenever I've waited for the perfect time to come to do something, or like the perfect situation or the perfect partner or the perfect design of something, like I can't release it until the design is perfect, or I can't tell anybody about it until I have the perfect way of telling the story. Like whenever I wait for that perfect time, the perfect time never comes. And so then you just delay the inevitable, and then you never do it. And then time, it doesn't stop. It just keeps going. And then whenever you do actually end up launching it, you're like, gosh, I wish I just did this a month ago. I wish I did this a year ago. I wish I did this 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I have things I wish I did 5 years ago that I was just waiting until the perfect time to do. And now I've discovered perfect is a lie. There is absolutely no such thing because we are beautifully flawed as humans. And I feel like the most powerful content and the most clarity and the most momentum actually comes out of doing things and kind of sucking at the beginning, kind of face planting, maybe even failing, maybe even doing a really shitty job. But you need to be able to get that out of you in order to build something great. I tell people all the time that momentum and motivation does not come from sitting around and thinking about it and planning it out and listening to other people's things and watching a bunch of YouTube videos. That's all great. That all helps you get to the point that's the most important, which is taking action, daring yourself to do it, actually doing something. So what this podcast is going to be about is daring yourself to live your best life right now, not in the future, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, not next year, but right now. What's something that you can do today? What if you dared yourself? You made it a dare to do something a little bit differently, whether that is walk a different path to work, drive a different route, or text someone you haven't spoken to in a long time, or finally launch that podcast sitting on the floor in your closet on top of your fiance's pile of laundry with a tiny little mic on your iPhone, which is what I'm doing right now. What if you dared yourself to do something a little differently today? What if you did that every day? What could happen? What could happen? I want to incentivize you to take action. I don't just want to motivate you. I don't want to just give you a lot of great content to listen to, which I will do because I love engaging in content, but I'm actually going to give you action steps every single day, dares that you can do, dares of the day, I like to call them, that you can do to move your life forward, to start to show yourself and prove to yourself that you do have what it takes to sit through discomfort, to launch things even though they're imperfect, to get started even though you don't feel necessarily ready. Because the more that you do that, the more trust you gain in yourself and the more confident you become. So I want everybody that is now part of the I Dare You podcast family to become really amazing at being uncomfortable and doing it anyway. So I'm really grateful that you've come along with me for this podcast journey. Can't wait to create epic content for you. But more importantly, I can't wait to watch you dare yourself to live your best life now. Dare yourself to do that thing today. So my ask for you today for this very first episode is to, number one, subscribe to this podcast. Press the little subscribe button. We want to get subscribers. So that's my first dare. The second one is to share it with somebody. Share it with somebody that you think really would enjoy it or that really needs it. Share it with just one person, because that's how we're going to get a lot of people to do dares. And if we can get a lot of people to dare themselves to live their best life, we're actually going to start changing the world slowly but surely. And at the end of the day, I mean, who doesn't want to help change the world? I mean, isn't that what we're all here for? To help make our impact? Yes. Yes or yes? Yes. Okay. So you're going to subscribe. You're going to share it with one person, and then go ahead and follow me on Instagram at Jen_Gottlieb and DM me what you would like to hear on this podcast. Some topics that you'd like for me to talk about, because this is about you and me and us together and making this life great, because we only get one. So I dare you. I'm really excited. I'm excited. I'm going to bring you some guests. We're going to do a lot of things, but we're not going to do it planned out. It's not going to be perfect. It might be messy. It might be from the floor of my closet. It might be on a walk outside. It might be in my office on my beautiful computer with the lights and all of the high-tech stuff with a video. It might be all those things, but it might not. And we're just going to let it flow. And that's what I want to lead by example with. So go ahead. Those are your homework assignments for today. And then the last thing is, what's one thing you can do today that is a little bit outside your comfort zone? What's one dare that you can give yourself that you wouldn't typically do that would lead you towards your best life? Think about it. Think about it and go take action on that. And I will see you for the next episode of the I Dare You podcast. I cannot wait to dive in and get into it with you here. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the I Dare You podcast. I'm so grateful you chose to spend this time with me, but I'm even more grateful for your future self, that you are building one dare at a time. So my first dare for you is to subscribe to the show and then share it with a friend who you think needs to step a little bit more outside their comfort zone and into their best lives. They'll thank you for it. I'll see you next time on the I Dare You podcast.